This is what they've been hiding for thousands of years. Not treasure, not weapons, but a code buried in letters, numbers, and breath. This is what's worth rewriting history for, lying for, killing for. Because if we knew the truth, if we understood what Kabbalah really is, no empire could stand, no throne could rule. This isn't about control, it's about freedom. And the war to keep humanity from it.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Man, amazing how life works, huh? I never thought I'd be working from home, as you can see today. I also didn't think I'd be talking about spirituality as much as I am. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for supporting me in this endeavor, because it seems very, very relevant in the world today. And it needs to be organic. As anything in this world that's going to sustain itself is definitely through organic growth, and I believe that wholeheartedly. So I just want to thank anybody that's reached out and expressed how much they either connect with this narrative that I'm pushing forward, the message that is behind it, because there's so many different layers to just spirituality in general, especially with the world and the way things are going today. For those of you that don't know me on a personal level, you might see that my name's Barrett. Other than that, you don't know much except for the last couple of videos I posted. So just to give you an idea, I'm somebody who's born and raised in Miami. I've worked in hospitality for most of my life. I currently work as a licensed agent for life insurance, health insurance, which is a whole other story in itself. I've also worked in assisted living, got close to a lot of people in the later stages of life as their dietary director. I worked with special needs children. I worked at summer camps. I was lucky enough to work for the Miami Heat and got to know a lot of the players and their children, and in that capacity. So when it comes to credibility and people that you want to listen to or follow on social media, I don't have the most. I don't have the least. I just know my life experience. I know my spiritual connection to others, to the Creator, and the fact that I'm somebody who is living their life through the intention of spreading love and good, with their first child on the way, with a fiance who I see as my soulmate. I know this message hits home for people because they're telling me, and it's a conversation that, if it turns into a podcast, I would love the opportunity to talk to others instead of just talking to the camera and having people give me their feedback in the comments. So all of this has the potential and the power to turn into something that is relevant and community building in the world today. So when it comes to, I think the first video I made being a few minutes, the second video being 6-7 minutes after that, I'm already 3 minutes in, and I don't want to talk about myself. I just want to talk about the facts, the reality of the world we live in today, the effort that I'm putting out personally to help become part of that community that builds the world into a better place for our children and future generations. So having said that, I was at a wedding this past weekend. Wedding and what dreams are made of. Two families that the bride is on my side of the family. The groom is somebody I met for the first time at the wedding. As families, grow apart over time, and that's just the reality of life. But two separate religions and nothing but love. It's appreciating each person for who they are as an individual, trying to include as much of both sides of their family's legacies and journeys into the ceremony, the rehearsal dinner, it created these speeches, this love, this energy that everybody had, to where I started looking inward into my own family that was at the wedding. There wasn't too many of us. A lot of it was, it's family and friends from the other side, or even family that I hadn't seen in a long time. The problem with family is everybody's flaws as well as their things you like to celebrate. And when it comes to organized religion, politics, there's family members that don't talk. When it comes to money and death, there's family members that don't come to weddings or stay connected to their family. And to me, this is worst case scenario in spirituality. It's this type of divide, this type of energy of where misery loves company and emotion takes over to a point where conversations are avoided, connections are avoided just because disagreements of things that shouldn't matter. It's what I was focusing my time on certain periods here and there. It's my mother was in from out of town. It's the first wedding my fiance and I got to go to together, so I did my best to try and stay present. And those quick moments of reflection, just showed me how important remaining present really is, and giving myself the opportunity to connect with anyone. And I just hope that everybody in their own individual journey chooses to practice the concept of being present, the practice of listening to receive information instead of listening to respond. You look at somebody, you can see when their mind is working and they're jumping at the chance to just say their opinion or impose their will or talk about themselves. To whereas people that are genuinely listening, where listening is a skill that most people need to work on. For the most part, it's not holding anybody against, it's their journey or not practicing things the way that I'm choosing to practice them. It's just my spiritual journey and my life experience has brought me to this point of appreciating those things that I notice, like Dana White just being in dinner or in the room next door having dinner and wanting to come in and talk to the wedding party. It's just being in the lobby the next night and champ Kamaru Usman walks in the lobby with his buddy and they're looking for something to eat, and I just happen to have some extra pizza and got to talk to them based on that fact of being present, connecting. So many things in life where being in the right place at the right time, and everything happens for a reason. You won't experience those feelings if you're not practicing being present initially. It's life will just go by. If you're thinking about the next party, the next dinner, the next work event, whatever the case may be, there's a real practice in spirituality where you're comfortable not having the answers to what's next, where we come from, and you're on a continuous journey to better yourself as an individual. So these practices in spirituality are another indicator to where I'm choosing spirituality over organized religion. Ultimately, what I've learned through being present at the wedding is the power of love. And the conversations I've had on the negative side of since bringing my face to the spiritual conversation, the forefront of the negativity is the trigger that is religion. Whether someone is giving me quotes from the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, whether someone is telling me that religion destroyed their families from World War II and the residual stress that comes from that, and turning to religion is the only thing that gave them solace, from times of war. My reality is that people are spending billions of dollars to rewrite history, to erase certain parts of history. If we are going to move forward together as a human race, there needs to be a universal truth. There needs to be a platform. There needs to be a foundation that we can build on. No more destroying, no more arguing, no more fighting with fire. It's my intention here is not to talk to a camera and read comments later on. Right? My intention is to talk to real people, start a real conversation. Hey, it's called the podcast The Conversation. It's It's a reality that much hate, that much money being spent to push the narrative of hate forward. It's Golda Meir is famous for her quote of peace will come when they love their children more than they hate us. There's another quote where it's, we will forgive them for killing our children. We can never forgive them for killing theirs. It's, if Israel put down their weapons today, tomorrow there would be no more Israel. If the terrorists put down their weapons today, tomorrow there would be peace. If you want to go back to the scriptures of a timeline to where all this started and where religion comes from, the biggest lie to start it all, in my humble opinion, is that the Jews are the chosen people. Now we're Zionists. We used to be Jews. At one point we were Israelites. Before that we were the Hebrews, because the Hebrew language is the one thing that predates all religion. And the books that I've written, the musical album that I put out, all of these were in my creative response to being a father and needing to see a better world for my child that's on the way. It's my mind was scrambling to the reality that I didn't want to put my face to this conversation because I wasn't sure how the world might react, or the world's a little ambitious, so how my social circle would immediately react. And now that I'm hearing from complete strangers, I understand that, this conversation is much bigger than what I initially anticipated. It's just the reality that all of this hate comes from somewhere, and I've called it the worst game of generational telephone. And the first step of divide and conquer is, go to your mother on Thanksgiving and ask her who her favorite child is. And you're going to see, it's where the hate starts to go towards. And it shouldn't be the Jewish people. That just because Moses went to Mount Sinai, brought down the 10 Commandments for the people, it wasn't the people there. It was for all people. Humans are the chosen species of the animal kingdom. We are supposed to elevate each other to rise above our animalistic instincts, the physical world temptation, and create this spiritual connection to where we are one. The Messiah is not supposed to be one person. It's in the Jewish religion, it's 5785 is the year, not 2025. Before the year 6000 is when the Messiah is supposed to come. The Messiah is not one person. The Messiah is when we all become one. So Jesus being branded as the Messiah, as a 35-year-old man who was knowingly Jewish, his teachings were Kabbalistic. It's God is within us, God the divine, we are all one. These are the principal teachings of Kabbalah before Kabbalah was even a word. The word Kabbalah itself in the Zohar is 12th century stuff, but Hebrew language and its gematria, which is the name of the album that I put out on all platforms now. Go listen to it because music is making people happy. But that tangent's another time, another place. It's for that realization of Kabbalah and Hebrew and the gematria within Hebrew. For those of you that don't know, gematria in the Hebrew language is tied to three things. And that's the letter, the number, and the sound frequency. So no other language has this. No other language is considered discovered by many, as well as instead of being man-made. The Hebrew language from Aleph to Taf. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Taf is 400, but all 22 letters have a numerical value, and even the word alphabet comes from Aleph Bet. It's Amen is the same in every language for a reason. Adam is the first man in the Torah, the Bible, the Quran. Shalom and Salam are the same. It's just a matter of a clergyman, a priest, or a rabbi, or a pastor being put in between you and your connection to the Creator, which is ultimately free in spirituality. This is all things to monetize and tax and say, don't read the book yourself, I'll translate it for you, in hopes to divide and conquer. So these are the secrets worth dying for. It's worth lying for thousands of years, worth killing, worth donating billions of dollars to schools in the Western world to rewrite history and talk about how Israel is the bad guy. If people could take a step back, because emotion and logic can't coexist simultaneously, logic would show you that there's no genocide in Gaza. The population wouldn't quadruple since 2005. And if Israel, as smart as they are, wanted to commit genocide, they would set off a bomb like the United States did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They wouldn't send their soldiers to die on the ground because they're looking for hostages. There's no apartheid in Israel because look at any footage you can find on the internet of people in Israel. It's all walks of life. So these mirrored lies and projections of psychological warfare are real tactics that are nothing new. Go back to Rome, go back to the Inquisition, go back to Pharaoh. I'm God, shower me with gold. And the Jewish people said, no, you're not. Adam sinned, David sinned, Solomon sinned. Nobody's perfect and nobody is God. God is nature. And this is where Gematria holds the secrets that to me are undeniable. For people that aren't aware, it's if you take the numbers from each letter and you look at certain words, there is a code that quantum physics still is catching up to. It's ahava is the word for love, adds up to the value of 13. So does echad, which is the word for one. And this is to symbolize that you could not have true love without becoming one. And you will not find true oneness without the organic presence of love, loving yourself, loving your spouse, your family. That's how you become one. It doesn't get deeper than that. Until you keep going into Gematria. It's the number 207. The word for light in Hebrew is or. Adds up to 207. The word for secret is Raz. Also adds up to 207. So all of these secrets of spirituality are hidden in the light. And what does every scripture talk about? The divine light, the light of the Creator. Words were spoken to existence in the light of the fire. All of these secrets are hidden in the light, and they won't reveal themselves until we allow the light to enter ourselves. It's the number 86, the word Elohim in the scripture. Elohim is not just Judaism, it's in every language. The word Elohim in the Hebrew letters adds up to 86, as does the word Hateva, which is the word for nature. God is in nature. Nature is our connection to God. It's Native Americans. That's Buddhists. Yin and Yang. It's I Ching. All of these Eastern and Western cultures will collide over the fact that nature is God and God is nature. And in Hebrew, it's the actual code. Mashiach is the Hebrew word for Messiah. Not when we become or follow one person, but Mashiach, for when we all become one, is 358. So is the word Nachash, which is the Hebrew word for serpent. The fact that serpent and Mashiach, Messiah, share the same code is only to remind you that good and evil have to exist in order for us to make the choice. We have to choose to become one instead of feeding the serpent, which is the ego. The angel versus the devil is the ego versus the soul. As we mature in our physical form and our spiritual form starts to elevate, these are the questions that we don't deserve to know the answers to as a human race because we are still fighting the way that we're fighting. Because we have 200 sovereign nations all over the world that live through ego, fear, and greed, and man looking to control instead of bestow, instead of share, instead of feed children, instead of take care of the elderly, because we're so consumed with all of these forces of negative energy. The paradigm shift in intention for humanity can happen overnight. If the privatized finances in this world that know that there's $9 trillion of debt in the United States and also knows that there's $325 trillion of debt in the global economy, the joke is, who's the debt owed to? The Decepticons? Because our creator's not coming to collect. This is all man-made infrastructure to keep us going down a rabbit hole of the devil being in the details of distraction. The realistic Eden, modern day Eden that we can create, knowing that spirituality is a choice as opposed to organized religion, where organized religion has us looking for this false sense of security, it's okay to not have the answers to all the questions. It's okay to apologize and acknowledge that you didn't know something or you're still learning, and your individual spiritual journey of an old soul or a young soul is all here at the right place in the right time for this connection to grow. So that's what I'm hoping this conversation turns into. That's what I'm hoping the focus can stay on a certain path as far as the narrative that I would like to see move forward, not just for my child, but for all of our children. It's the future built on spirituality instead of organized religion is a very exciting future that I'm optimistic for. And I hope that if you're present here still at this moment, 20 minutes in, and this conversation does spread, can only mean great things. And my goodness, how the world can be a better place. So happy Monday. Thank you for listening. And again, feedback is not only welcomed, it's preferred as far as my soul and my individual journey is considered, because I will continue to work and articulate things in the best way that I can in order to make sure that love is the only way to conquer this type of hate. And through the intention of love and building, will we continue to move forward as a species. So happy Monday. Thank you for your time. And I look forward to the next video.